Hey, what's happening, guys? Mr. Grinless here. I wanted to do kind of an end of the year video, just to give kind of a summary of where things were, a little bit about myself. Um, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new to the channel and you've stuck with me all year, thanks so much. Stick around for the entire video because you might see your name on the video. Have a couple topics to cover, and one of those is subscriber thank yous and shoutouts for sure. I'm not new to the creepypasta or horror genre. I love the genre very much and have been involved in it for some time as a hobby and interest. 2023 was my first year out on YouTube narrating stories and writing stories and telling stories. And probably midway through the year or so, I got really sick. And also just generally, I'd kind of just gotten out of it. When you get away from something, with something like this where it requires a big time commitment, I had just gotten kind of out of my routine. And so a few months ago, Mr. Creeps, who is a good friend of mine in the real world, if you don't know who Mr. Creeps is, although I would imagine if you're interested in this type of stuff or genre, you probably do, definitely check him out. He has such a cool channel and he does great stories. And he's just a awesome person, a great person in general. Him and I have known each other for years. And so after I had gotten kind of sick and kind of came out of that, to kind of help get me back going again, around August, I think it was, he gave me a shout out on his channel. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen here in case you missed it so you guys can see. I imagine that some of you guys have probably come from his channel over to my channel, but if you missed it, here it is from that time. And of course, I really appreciated that. Again, he's just an awesome person. He's a great narrator, but he's also a great person as well. I also wanted to put together a list of top 5 stories that I loved the most this year. I'm just going to rattle these off real quick. Some of you guys probably know what they are. I'll go ahead from top to bottom. Most of you have probably heard number 1, which is I Can See People's Ages. Today I Murdered a Man That Is 750 Years Old. I love that story. If you're new to the channel or you came to the channel based off that story, there is a part 2. I just want to shout out that part 2 because I think it's only got like 3,000 or 4,000 views on it or something like that. And I think on the part 1, it's got like 30,000 views. So there's a lot of people that just didn't get to hear part 2. So if you haven't heard part 1, definitely go to listen to that story. If you have heard part 1, there is a part 2. I love the story in general because of like the vampires and the character development, and the main character is like really an interesting guy as a bartender. He's cool, and it just has like a lot of different personality things. I just thought that the story in general was one of my most favorite reads. Number 2 is the hotel I'm staying at has a creepy set of rules. If you haven't figured that out by now, I love rule stories. I try to read some of the most unique rule stories and write some of the most unique rule stories that any of you are ever going to hear or come across. This particular story was awesome because it was at a hotel. It had a very unique set of rules, and just the way that story went, I really liked it in general. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Number 3 on my list is If There's Ever Thunder During a Snowstorm, It's Coming. I love that. I loved that story. I thought that story was super unique. I also liked that it had a different setting in a blizzard and a snowstorm. I also added some wind elements to it and blizzard sounds and snowstorm sounds. I also like some of the character development in that story too, like Metal and the college roommates and just kind of what they endured going through the snow and like just trying to go get pizza and shit like that. So I just thought that was like a really great story, really cool story. Number 4 is The Strange Rules of Lady Jade's Brothel. I really liked this story. I thought this story was, well, number 1, it was a rules story. So I love creepypasta rules. I think we all do. But also I really liked just the way the story went. I liked hearing the unique set of rules. And then I also liked the account of the workers at the brothel, but then also the client's perspective as well, and how those two stories intertwined. I thought that was really unique. Something that you guys may or may not have seen is in the comment section where people kind of call out a lot of stuff where I do stories that like not everybody else does. Some of these topics or some of the stories that people choose or other narrators choose are really kind of in line with like what YouTube allows and what YouTube doesn't allow. And so we all want to stay inside those rules. I know I do too. There's those rules again. Somebody should do a creepypasta on YouTube's rules. I'd read it. That'd be a great one. And so on my channel, like you're always going to get, unique stories that maybe everybody else isn't comfortable doing, channel topics that are maybe fringe or, something that, not everybody's going to latch onto. So I want to bring everybody like the most unique content. Doesn't really matter necessarily what the topic is. I mean, obviously there's some boundaries, but I want you to be able to hear fresh stories that haven't been, read or said or written about topics that are just like dry and old and nobody wants to hear it anymore. And so some of the rule stories I do are very interesting stuff. They're not featured anywhere else on YouTube. And that really applies to the strange rules of Lady Jade's Brothel. That was an awesome story. Check that out if you haven't. And then number 5, I just did a top 5. Number 5 is the terrifying legend of the flaky man. So if you go back to any of my older videos this year, the audio might not be as good as it is now. So one of the things that I did once I got back into doing the stories was I upgraded my audio equipment right around the same time that Mr. Creeps shouted me out and I got going again. And so some of the stuff, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to it. It's all still good stuff, but my voice might sound like a little less crisp, a little less of a podcast sound to it as it does now because my equipment wasn't as good. But that particular story just totally freaked me out. I don't know why. It just was the characters in it, the setting, the guy that ended up coming back from hell or an afterlife or whatever. I remember like reading that story. The hairs stuck up on the back of my neck when I read it, and I got goosebumps. And it was just like the visuals I had, just all the elements of that story. So that's definitely one. If I were you guys, I would go back and check. It's like a 45-minute story. So it's a long one. But that story just totally freaked me out. I don't know why, but some of you will probably listen to it and be like, it's no big deal or whatever. But to me, I thought it was terrifying. Another thing I wanted to talk about is my upload schedule. Most of you have probably been noticing that I've been publishing 2 to 3 stories per day. That's been going on really because I wanted to catch up. Originally, when I started, I think I started my channel in January of this year. And so my goal was to do 1 story per day in 2023 to keep that sort of schedule. But because I got sick and I quit doing the stories, that obviously didn't happen. But I've gotten such a positive response from you guys for my frequent uploads, 2 to 3 stories per day. I think I'm actually going to continue doing that. Definitely going to try to crank out as many stories as I can per day. But I just wanted to clarify that because some of you guys are like, wow, you're putting out a ton of stories. I'm just trying to get like back on track to like getting enough stories out there so that you guys are all enjoying it and you're getting like daily uploads and that kind of thing. I want to take this opportunity as well to share some of my thoughts on the use of AI. Most of the existing older, bigger channels, most of the AI, you guys, is coming from new channels. So I'm not going to name anybody's names. I'm not going to put anybody on blast or anything like that. But it's mostly the new channels. There's a handful of channels that are of older channels that are using like voice cloning software or particular AI tools to where they're able to replicate their voice, but you can tell. And you can also read comments on stuff like, is this AI? This is AI. And so personally, I do not like it. I don't support it. I am a creepypasta purist, as they say. I believe that the stories should be told by humans. I think that's important. I also think that humans writing the stories is equally important. I'm not interested in trying to cut out any of the writers. It's not something that I'm interested in doing. I'm not going to tell you what to think about it. You think what you want to think about it. I think that like the way that communities and genres are and cultures are sort of born are through contributions. And if, chatbots or robots are telling the stories, and all of a sudden, chat GPT or robots are writing the stories too, then all we're doing is sitting around and just listening to them. And there's not really going to be any more contribution. And if that happens, then that means the communities just kind of dissolve over time. And none of us want that. Like, I love the horror genre. I love the scary creepypasta genre, stuff like that. Like, I'm not really interested. And also, you guys, like, I'm a fan too. Like, I listen to this stuff too. Like, I have a couple of channels that I like to listen to too, just like anything else. Like, I'm not really interested in listening to a robot just telling me the story. I'm not interested in reading a story that a robot wrote. Like, I'm good. But again, I'm not telling you to like it or don't like it. You should make up your own decisions, in your own mind. Like, if you think it's fine, then it's fine. I will say that YouTube, this is not my opinion, this is YouTube's position, that at some point down the road, who knows when that'll be? It could be after the first of the year or next year, or who knows? They are going to start tagging videos as that are using AI as synthetic content. And I think that's important. I mean, they think it's important, obviously, or they wouldn't be doing it. And so, some of these actors or channels that are using AI, I mean, you guys can mostly figure it out. Like, if you go to a channel and there's 3-4 different voices on it, or it sounds glitchy or robot-y, like, you can figure it out. But there's a couple of them, I will say, that are really, really good. Like, they sound like really natural voices. And so at some point, those videos will be tagged with synthetic tags by YouTube that says, like, yo, these are AI stories. And so, just be aware of it. I've explained my position on it. I would love to hear your position on it. Like, feel free to drop a comment or share your opinion. This is something that will affect our community and our culture. With the use of AI written stories, the use of AI chatbots telling the stories, like, how do you feel about it? Like, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I just told you how I feel about it, but feel free to drop yours. If you don't think it's a big deal, that's fine too. I've got some, so if you look at my next screen here, things to look forward in 2024. I'm going to have some new merch coming out, Grinless Gang merch. Super excited about that. Apple and Spotify podcast. I'm actually signed up for both of those right now, but I haven't been pumping like podcasts out too much often onto those platforms, because my main focus lately has just been getting stories done and stories on YouTube for you guys to enjoy. At some point in the year, probably mid-year, I'm going to work on channel memberships to where you get access to like content on Q&As and just a variety of things with channel memberships. It's something that YouTube has kind of been pushing out, and something that I will do eventually. Again, if you're new to the channel, you're going to hear untold stories, unique stories. I am going to be retelling some classic creepypastas later this year as well. Just some original OG awesome creepypastas that we all love. Also some really unique origin stories will be coming out, so definitely look out for those. And then also there's going to be promotions and giveaways like merch, all kinds of stuff that I'm interested in handing out to you guys for just like rocking with me, this year and beyond. And on the topic of that, on the topic of promotions and giveaways, I'm going to propose one right now. This is going to be something that's really, kind of fun and random, and we can all look back on it in a year. In the comments, I'm going to run a promotion challenging you to guess how many subscribers you think I will have on this day next year. So now, whoever guesses the right answer is going to get a $200 gift card. The only rules is that 2 people cannot have the same exact subscriber number. So you need to check the comments, make sure that Nobody else guessed your number. We will come back to this on December 31st of 2024 and see who was the closest. So like, for example, you can say, I think that in December 31st, you'll have 5,101 subscribers. And then another person says, I think you'll have 5,102 subscribers. Well, if I have 5,105 subscribers, then that means the person with 102 was the winner and they were the closest. And so take a shot at it. There's no real reason not to. If you get close, if you guess the right number, hey, you're going to win some money. We'll check back on it in a year and we'll all kind of laugh about it and see who is actually like the person to guess it right. The very last thing I just want to take a minute and acknowledge. So I try to read all the comments from you guys. I try to respond to like everybody's comment. And there was so many of you guys that left great comments, but there was several of you that left either very pleasant, polite comments that were really encouraging to me and that meant something to me. Or there were some of you that left critical comments, but you said it in a kind way where it was like constructive and helpful to me, and I got something out of it. But these particular people, I just wanted to take a minute and like shout you guys back out, because you guys have been rocking with me the whole time, literally. And when you're new on YouTube these days, in 2023, it's not easy, because there are channels out there that are using AI and they're putting out more content, and it's hard as a narrator to like commit to stories that you don't know if everybody's gonna like, and then somebody else is just pumping a story into a chat bot and then uploading it in YouTube and calling it good. So it's like I can't tell you how much it means to me to see some of you guys leaving like super encouraging comments, like I really like listening to your stories, or you're becoming one of my favorites, or any of that stuff is so powerful. Like, it's just words, it's just a comment, but to me it means a lot, and it really helps encourage me. Or even if it's a negative comment, like, yo, I think your voice sounds monotone. I've gotten that a couple times, like, yeah, I think your voice sounds monotone, which in certain cases it probably has. That's going to be another thing I've been like working on and considering. It's just, I worry about pitches. Just because I feel like if I change the tones or pitches of certain stories, then it might give away what's going to happen next. But either way, feedback is feedback, and I appreciate it all. I appreciate any comments at all, really, good or bad. Let me know you like it, you don't like. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, I just want to say, like, thank you to everybody. Like, everybody that's came to listen to one of my stories or check my channel out. Like, I hope you guys all have a happy new year. I hope that 2024 is great to everybody and it's prosperous. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel and checking me out. I look forward to dropping crazy, spooky stories on you guys next year, and I'm super excited to do it. Happy New Year, and thanks again from Mr. G.